Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this great day. Today, during this food handler course presentation, our team of safety experts will be providing an overview of tips and best practices related to all things food, health, and safety. Food safety is an incredibly important subject matter, seeing as it affects every single person's daily life, and, while generally speaking, the United States is quite progressive and advanced in its FDA food guidelines, there is always room for improvement in every food facility. Really, that's our mission today, to provide you all with high-level knowledge, resources, and expertise to go back into your jobs informed and ready to implement these practical food handling guidelines and better the health and safety of your facility. So moving on to slide 2, here we have listed just a few of the general concepts we will focus on discussing today during the presentation. It's worth noting that an all-encompassing presentation on food, health, and safety could easily take all day. So here, as you can see, our team of experts have tried to narrow down, condense, and highlight the most pressing and crucial points of information that we felt strongly are the most important key takeaways for you all today in regards to your work specifically at your facility. These include food safety and hazards, potential risks for cross-contamination, the importance of pasteurized products, proper procedures associated with food preparation and handling, food and cafeteria line maintenance, and looking to the future. So, to start off, when thinking about food, health, and safety, it's important to acknowledge what is arguably the main threat to most of what we were talking about today, which is foodborne illness. The reason we stress hygiene, cleanliness, and the like is to ensure that the food we serve is safe, of the highest quality, and not likely to cause a foodborne illness in our customers, which is defined as an illness caused by food contaminated with bacteria, viruses, parasites, or toxins. All of the food safety protocols and guidelines we discussed during today's presentation are ways to ultimately prevent foodborne illness from occurring and to ensure the health and safety of the people who consume our foods. That said, there are 3 types of hazard that can make food unsafe to consume. The first is biological, which interestingly causes the most foodborne illness outbreaks and are of the greatest concern to food service managers and health inspectors. Examples of these include disease-causing bacteria, viruses, parasites, molds, yeasts, and naturally occurring toxins. Foodborne viruses and parasites cause infections. On the other hand, chemical hazards are defined as harmful substances such as pesticides, machine oils, cleansers, and cleaning solutions, sanitizers, dissolved metals, and an excessive amount of food additive. Lastly, physical hazards are objects which are not part of food, never were meant to be part of food, but somehow got into food. Examples of these are glass, metal, toothpicks, cigarette butts, pebbles, hair, staples, and jewelry. Eating these can simply just cause an injury. As one can already see from these 3 categories, there are a variety of dangerous hazards that exist when it comes to preparing and handling food, and that is why it is our mission as food preparers to keep all of these hazards in mind and do our best to prevent these hazards from occurring on the job. Piggybacking off of the previous slide, one of the most important phrases to become accustomed to during this presentation is cross-contamination, which I'm sure many of you have heard of previously. Cross-contamination is defined as the physical movement or transfer of harmful bacteria from one person, object, or place to another, and preventing cross-contamination is a key factor in preventing foodborne illness. In an effort to prevent cross-contamination, there are several things to keep in mind while food shopping, refrigerating food, preparing food, and serving food. When food shopping, you should separate raw meat, poultry, and seafood from other foods in your grocery shopping cart. Place these foods in plastic bags to prevent their juices from dripping onto other foods. It's also best to separate these foods from other foods at checkout and in your grocery bags. When you're refrigerating food, you should place raw meat, poultry, and seafood in containers or sealed plastic bags to prevent their juices from dripping onto other foods. Raw juices often contain harmful bacteria. You should store eggs in their original carton and refrigerate them as soon as possible. When preparing food, you should wash your hands and surfaces often. Harmful bacteria can spread throughout the kitchen and get onto cutting boards, utensils, and countertops. To prevent this, wash cutting boards, dishes, and countertops with hot soapy water after preparing each food item and before you go on to the next. When cutting food, always use a clean cutting board. If possible, use one cutting board for fresh produce and a separate one for raw meat, poultry, and seafood. When marinating food, always marinate food in the refrigerator, not on the counter. When dealing with produce, always rinse fresh fruits and vegetables in running tap water to remove visible dirt and grime. Because bacteria can grow well on the cut surfaces of fruit or vegetables, be careful not to contaminate these foods while slicing them on the cutting board, and avoid leaving cut produce at room temperature for many hours. And lastly, when serving food, always use a clean plate and never place cooked food back on the same slide or cutting board that previously held raw food. So, now that we've provided a comprehensive overview of some of the best practices to prevent cross-contamination, let's quickly highlight one of the most common food processes that is currently used in dairy and food industries, and that is pasteurization. Pasteurization is defined as a process in which packaged and non-packaged foods are treated with mild heat, usually to less than 100 degrees Celsius, to eliminate pathogens and extend shelf life. As you've probably seen in grocery stores, most dairy products have been pasteurized and contain an expiration date. This is because while pasteurization has eliminated most pathogens, over time some of the most resistant forms and spores will remain present, causing the products to spoil with time. This brings us to the differences between pasteurization and sterilization, and while they sound similar, they're actually two very different processes. Sterilization describes a process that destroys or eliminates all forms of microbial life and is carried out in healthcare facilities by physical or chemical methods. Pasteurization does not effectively kill all microbial life. Therefore, the main difference lies in the fact that sterilization seeks to eliminate all microorganisms and spores, and pasteurization, the most resistant forms and some spores remain present. Commonly pasteurized foods include eggs, milk, juice, cheese, yogurt, butter, ice cream, honey, almonds, vinegar, beer, wine, lobster and crab meat, and others. Put simply, consuming pasteurized foods versus unpasteurized foods will dramatically reduce your risk of sickness, hospitalization, and death from foodborne illnesses. Now that we've established the importance of pasteurization, let's revert back to the best practices associated with food preparation and handling. According to the FDA, there are 4 main guidelines to keep food safe, and those include clean, separate, cook, and chill. These are all practices you should implement daily in your line of work to prevent cross-contamination and ensure the well-being of those who consume your food. To start off, clean refers to washing hands and surfaces often. Wash your hands with warm water and soap for at least 20 seconds before and after handling food, and after using the bathroom, changing diapers, and handling pets. Wash your cutting boards, dishes, utensils, and countertops with hot soapy water after repairing each food item. Consider using paper towels to clean up kitchen surfaces. If you use cloth towels, launder them often in the hot cycle. The second item, separate, refers to the separation of raw meat from other foods. In other words, separate raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs from other foods in your grocery shopping cart, grocery bags, and refrigerator. Use one cutting board for fresh produce and a separate one for raw meat, poultry, and seafood. Never place cooked food on a plate that previously held raw meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs unless the plate has been washed in hot soapy water. Don't reuse marinades used on raw foods unless you bring them to a boil first. The third item, cook, refers to cooking at the correct temperature. According to the FDA, color and texture are unreliable indicators of safety. Using a food thermometer is the only way to ensure the safety of meat, poultry, seafood, and egg products for all cooking methods. These foods must be cooked to a safe minimum internal temperature to destroy any harmful bacteria. Cook eggs until the yolk and white are firm. Only use recipe in which eggs are cooked or heated thoroughly. And when cooking in the microwave oven, cover food, stir, and rotate for even cooking. Lastly, the fourth item, chill, refers to refrigerating foods promptly. Use an appliance thermometer to be sure the temperature is consistently 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below, and the freezer temperature is 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Refrigerate or freeze meat, poultry, eggs, seafood, and other perishables within 2 hours of cooking or purchasing. Refrigerate within 1 hour if the temperature outside is above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Never thaw food at room temperature, such as on the countertop. There are 3 safe ways to defrost food: in the refrigerator, in cold water, and in the microwave. Food thawed in cold water or in the microwave should be cooked immediately. Always marinate food in the refrigerator. Now, at this point in the presentation, we've provided a comprehensive overview of food safety hazards, cross-contamination, pasteurization, and food preparation and handling guidelines. And now we're ready to address a very important topic, which is how to maintain food safety in a variety of cafeteria settings, ranging from within schools, offices, hospitals, and other areas. Perhaps the most challenging aspect to maintaining food safety in cafeterias is that most cafeterias have a buffet-style serving. And while it's convenient, it can also be a breeding ground for bacteria and potential illness, seeing as the food sits out for a while. So it's important that it addresses, and you were all given a few important tips on how to maintain food safety in this setting. Starting off, it may sound simple, but the importance of good hygiene as a food handler cannot be understated. This translates into wearing clean uniforms and aprons daily and changing protective outer clothing if it becomes contaminated or may have become contaminated. Wear hair restraints, such as hair or beard nets, in all areas where food is being prepared. Wash your hands before and after putting on disposable gloves. Change gloves if they become contaminated or torn. Change your gloves every 2 to 4 hours and never reuse disposable gloves. Don't work when you're sick, especially if you're experiencing symptoms of foodborne illness, for example, nausea, fever, vomiting, diarrhea. The second item on the list, size matters, refers to keeping buffet serving portions small. Prepare a small number of platters and dishes ahead of time, and replace the serving dishes with the fresh ones throughout the party. Store cold backup dishes in the refrigerator and keep hot dishes in the oven set at 200 degrees Fahrenheit to 250 degrees Fahrenheit prior to serving. This way, your late arriving guests can safely enjoy the same appetizing arrangements as the early arrivers. The third item on the list, take temperatures, refers to using a food thermometer frequently throughout the day to monitor the freshness of the food. Additionally, serve or keep food hot in chafing dishes, slow cookers, and warming trays. Be aware that some warmers only hold food at 110 Fahrenheit to 120 Fahrenheit, so check the product label to make sure your warmer has the capability to hold foods at 140 Fahrenheit or warmer. That's the temperature that's required to keep bacteria at bay. Eggs and eggs dishes, such as quiches or soufflés, may be refrigerated for serving later, but should be thoroughly reheated to 165 degrees Fahrenheit before serving. The fourth item, chill out, refers to the fact that cold foods should be kept at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep cold foods refrigerated until serving time. If food is going to stay out on the buffet table longer than 2 hours, place plates of cold food on ice to retain the chill. In that same vein, don't add new food to an already filled serving dish. Instead, replace nearly empty serving dishes with freshly filled ones. Be aware that during the party, bacteria from people's hands can contaminate the food, and bacteria can multiply at room temperature. Lastly, remember the 2-hour rule. Discard any perishables left out at room temperature for more than 2 hours unless you're keeping it hot or cold. Alright, well, we are aware that today's presentation has been a whirlwind of information up until now, and hopefully some of the guidelines and protocols we have shared today have piqued your interest and given you the knowledge and resources needed to bring back to your workplaces to improve the health and safety of those around you, including yourself. The last topic we would like to address before wrapping up today is looking towards the future and thinking about what direction food and safety are headed in the years to come. The world around us is changing rapidly, and it is said that we are in the midst of a food revolution. Many believe we will see more changes in the food system over the next 10 years than we have over the past several decades. In fact, the FDA published a new report in 2020 titled New Era of Smarter Food Safety, in which they discuss a new approach to food safety, leveraging technology and other tools to create a safer and more digital, traceable food system. We have included the URL link to the official PDF for those of you to access who are interested in doing a thorough deep dive into the material. But before wrapping up, we quickly wanted to highlight the 4 core elements discussed in the report. The first element, tech-enabled traceability, seeks to advance traceability to help protect consumers from contaminated products by doing rapid tracebacks, identifying specific sources, and helping to remove products from the marketplace as quickly as possible when necessary. The second element, smarter tools and approaches for prevention and outbreak response, seeks to enhance and strengthen root cause analysis and predictive analytics. The third element, new business models and retail modernization, seeks to address how to protect foods from contamination as new business models emerge and change to meet the needs of the modern consumer. Lastly, the fourth element, food safety culture, seeks to foster, support, and strengthen food safety culture on farms, in food facilities, and in homes. Well, that marks the end of today's official presentation. Thank you all again for joining us today, and we hope that you have been given the knowledge and resources needed to improve the health and safety of your workplace. For those of you that are interested, we do have a 15-question quiz at the end of this presentation, which you are able to do on your own time following today's presentation. Each question is followed by an answer, and the questions cover the main points from today's presentation. Thank you again for joining and for your participation, and we hope you all have a safe, happy, and healthy rest of the year. Take care.